Hello children, I hope you have seen your previous videos in this lesson, force and pressure. That is your part 2 video. Now we are moving on to your part 3 of this lesson, in which we will be seeing about surface tension, viscosity and friction. Say the words surface tension, viscosity and friction. Before this, in your previous classes, what are the concepts you have learned? We had learned about force and pressure in liquids and Pascal's law, and applications we have seen, and I have asked you to see various applications in your daily life where Pascal's law is applied. Did you see it? Okay. Now we are moving on to the next concept. First one is that surface tension. A quite complex word, right? But finds many applications in our life. Right? Daily life, even from your starting from your pen, how you are filling ink in your pen, how that ink is working in your ink pen, all those from simple concepts to the greater concepts. This term, what is that? Surface tension, plays a good role in our life. Right? Come, let us move into the definition. It is the amount of force acting per unit length on the surface. Right, children, I will ask you a question from your daily life observation. Have you ever seen water clogged on the roadsides or the small pits? And on that muddy water, have you ever seen mosquitoes will walk? Have you ever watched it? Right? And we can exclaim on that scene. We cannot walk on water, right? But that small mosquitoes will nicely walk on the water and go. Right? It is its movement. What is its due to? How that little happening happens over there. Right? Now another thing is that water, when we pour, if some water is spilled on the surface, right? On floor, right? It will flow from one where it got spilled, from that it will try to flow on the other parts too. How does it all happen? In solid, if you throw one solid in one particular place, it cannot flow. But fluids flow. What are fluids? Liquids and gases. Especially we are concentrating here about liquids. Liquids will flow. What does that do? This liquids, children, especially I will take a water as an example. Its surface molecules, even other molecules, it will try to act like one stretched membrane. Right? I will tell you an example. Have you ever watched after boiling of milk, right? Some amount of layer, one layer, that kind of layer will get deposited on the milk, like what is it? A membrane. Like that, at a minimal level, this water will try to behave like one stretched membrane. Stretched membrane means what? Or a group of rubber bands, right? When you stretch it expands, right? But it won't get break into smaller pieces. But when we exceed the speed or exceed the force, then only the rubber band will get cut down. Right? Like that, this liquid will act like one membrane. It can stretch out and it will act like one continuous membrane. It cannot break into the smaller particles. This property of behaving of liquids like a stretched membrane is called as surface tension. This is meaning oriented definition. Mathematic oriented definition is it is the force acting per unit length. That means what? See, on the surface, for particularly greater force acts means what? The layers, the water molecules will act like one. They will be attracted to each other and they will be acting like one complete membrane, a complete layer, right? So the force of attraction will be more. It cannot move apart as a separate molecules. That is what the mathematical definition here. It is the amount of force acting per unit length. In particular length, how much force is more or less. So that is called surface tension. Here I have written in short form surface tension is equal to force by length, because per means I have already told you divided by. Force by length. Force unit is Newton, length unit is meter. So this meter will have power 1, which is in the denominator, which will go up. So the unit of surface tension is Newton per meter. Right, children? This is full form, not the symbol of surface tension. Right? So surface tension's unit is Newton per meter. Remember. Next one, we are going to see the applications where we use. Very minimal uses alone are given over here, children. But you can apply this in your daily life also. Number one, water will start from the roots and go to the tip of the plant, even the tip of the leaf in the topmost branch. How? Right? You know very well water will flow from topper area to lower area or higher pressure area to lower pressure. But see this miraculous travel. From the root it will travel up. Right? Even the tip of the leaf of the topmost branch will get water. How? Right? So this is due to a factor called surface tension. First, roots will absorb. Right? The water will be absorbed by the roots, and what you would have learned in your biology, xylem and phloem vessels, conducting vessels, right? Xylem and phloem. These xylem vessels are narrow tubes, right? So it will act like one straw, right? Straw means what we use for our drinking, right? Cool drinks and all, right? So what these will do, this water will try to act like membrane. I said no, right? So there is an action called capillary action. In your book underline this word. CAPILLARYACTION. Capillary action. For that I will tell you an example. If you take a sponge, right? If you immerse that sponge in water, through the holes in the sponge, water will get into it. No, right? Water will be absorbed into. Right? So through that smaller holes, water will find its place and go and settle down over here. And inside that sponge, it will act like one membrane. Right? And when we squeeze it, all the water will come. It won't come drop by drop. It will come like one continuous flow of liquid. So then also it will join and it will come down as a continuous. What is the continuous flow or continuous flow membrane? Membrane-like flow only you will get. So that type of another example I will give you while ink is spilled on the table, what you will immediately on chalk piece or something you will just roll on it. The ink and all will be absorbed on it. No. So water will try to find its space in between the chalk piece holes. What is that? Some hole in chalk piece marker, some holes will be there. In that water will be absorbed into. So that process is called as capillary action. Due to that capillary action, through that xylem vessels, water will get into that complete stem area and it will reach the branches of tree or any plant. So that is due to surface tension, and another process, capillary action. Due to capillary action, water will get into each vessels, and what happens? And it will act like one continuous membrane. So water will continuously flow through the vessels and it will reach every part of the tree. Okay, children? Right now, this is one good example, easiest example. Ship damage and where our oils will be poured. For this, I will tell you a simple another example. In your houses, have you ever watched your parent pouring some oil, a little drop of oil in cookers? Right, when they boil. When they cook dal and all, right? Have you ever watched it? Why they pour some amount of oil or ghee they will pour, right? Why, you know, children? While boiling, water will get boiled to the high temperature, right? So to stop out the oozing out of the cooker, what we will do? They will pour small amount of oil. So that due to that change in the surface tension, water will try to ooze out. So if you pour little amount of oil, it may prevent that effect. Same effect only will happen over here. During storm, no. Ship will get highly damaged due to the force of water. Due to that, the ship may get damaged and the sailors can, they may face damage and they may have a fear of death. So to avoid that, what they will do, they'll pour cans and cans of oil around the ship. So the water will be in a high vigorous mode, right? So when they pour the oil, what will happen? The surface tension will be altered and the vigorousness of the water can be reduced in their ship area and they can safeguard their ship and even their life. This is another example. And the last one, what I have already told you, during the winter time, water clogging, that mosquitoes, water spiders, any water-based small insects, right? So they will walk on the water. Why no, children? Their legs will not be like our legs, right? Like broader one and stronger one. They have a small needle-like legs only, no. So the water will act like one stretched membrane. So it will act like continuous. What is that? Continuous factor, continuous substance. So for them, there won't be any holes. There will not be any break in their path. So easily they can walk because liquids act like one stretched membrane due to a property called surface tension. Okay, with this that surface tension process gets over, and then we are moving to viscous force, which is otherwise called as viscosity. What is its definition? Before this definition, I am going to tell you some examples. Right? Just recollect in your mind. In your house, have you ever compared between coconut oil and cooking oil and kerosene oil? Have you ever seen these three oils? Yes, of course you would have seen. Of these three, which will be more thicker and which will be more, what is that? More liquidized, more liquid manner it will be. And what is that? So obviously coconut oil will be more thicker, right? And what is that? Refined oil will be in between cooking oil, and kerosene will be more of liquid nature, right? Now this is an example for viscosity, right? All are liquids, right? But what about that thickness? That thickness is due to viscosity, and the force between that containers, what is that? Containing liquid is called as viscous force, right? For example, if a container is there, right? In a container, there will be, if we pour a liquid, there will be layers of liquid, right? In that, different layers will be there. In between that layers of water, some force will be active, right? That force is called as viscous force. For example, I will tell you a realistic example, right? When you are walking, holding the hands of your friend and you are walking, right? Now, if towards your direction, if your friend is also walking, then you can walk fastly, right? Now, but if your friend is just leaning back and you are walking forward, holding his hand or her hand, what you will do? You will have some, what is it? You will experience some opposing motion. Like that, in the layers of the liquid in a container, between the layers of the liquid, if one layer is moving, towards that layer, another layer also should get attached and move. Right? That force, acting between the layers, that is called viscous force. Right? So it opposes the relative motion, means what? That force is the force between the layers is a frictional force. Frictional force means what? One layer will be there, another layer of water will be there. Then this layer of water and another layer of water will not have same kind of force, right? So this layer of force will try to oppose the movement of the upper layer. And another layer will be there down, and this layer will oppose the motion of the second layer. Like this, though it is opposing, that some force will be holding it and the movement of molecules will be there. And if the force is more, the liquid will flow in a very slow way. If that force is if the force is in a required amount, then it will flow in a very fast way. Right, children? Now that is how we are explaining viscous force. Now in CGS system you have a unit for viscous force as poise, P-O-I-S-E. But in our SI system the unit of viscosity is Newton second per meter square, or otherwise we will have it as kilogram per meter per second. I will tell you again how to read it. Newton second per meter square, kilogram per meter per second. Right. Now this one line only is given in your book, but explanation for it I am going to give now. You know that what is the definition here? It is the force acting between the layers. Mathematically, it is defined as force flowing for a particular time across an area. Force acting between the areas of liquid, that is the different areas, for a particular time was called as, what is that? Viscosity. Right? So in simple we can write force into time by area. So force unit is Newton, force unit is Newton, time unit is second, area unit is meter square, which is in the denominator. When it goes up it will go as meter per square. So that is how we are getting this unit, Newton second per meter square. Coming to this unit, how we are getting it? You know that F is equal to, force is equal to mass into acceleration. F is equal to ma. In your first lesson itself we have learned the formulas for different quantities, right? So F is equal to ma. F, in the place of F we have replaced it with ma, and P we have brought here. Now you apply the units. For mass, kilogram. For acceleration, meter per second square. If you remember all those units, it's well and good. If you don't remember, kindly roll back your pages and check the units. At least now at least record your units in your mind. Right? Acceleration's unit is meter per second square and time unit is second. Area's unit is meter square. Right? Now what is the formula? Kilogram will come as it is. Here we have 1 power for meter, here m will have power 1 and here m will have 2. So this is in the denominator. When it goes up, it will go as minus 2. Already 1 is there. 1 minus 2 will give you minus 1. So that's why we have power m power minus 1. And here s power minus 2, s power 1. Minus 2 plus 1 will give you minus 1. That's why we are getting the unit s power minus 1. So that if you calculate, if you are in 8th standard, as you grow up, fast you have to know this calculation. You are not supposed to waste any of your time in this just assigning power. Fastly mind calculations only we should go over there. Okay. So this is how we are getting this unit. So don't get confused how this text came. Right? This is not in your book. Kindly note it down either in your notebook or in your textbook. Right? So what are the units for viscosity? Newton second per meter square or kilogram per meter per second. What is its unit in CGS system? Poise. Okay? Right. Now where and how we use this? Your textbook didn't say this. Where we use this viscosity. Right. Similarly, in our markets, one example, one simple example, I will take it. In our markets, we have different types of coconut oil, right? What does that say? From the manufactured area, we can get some coconut oil. And different brands of coconut oil we have. In so many ads you would have seen, very attractive ads. We say this is mixed there, that is mixed in this oil. And if you check in that, the thickness, that viscosity, right, of every oil will get varied. But pure coconut oil, which is obtained from coconut, from the pure coconuts, what we get from that coconuts will have one viscosity, one number it will have. So the purest coconut oil, what it will have, the industries or the testing people, food security people will be there now. In every lab, after passing test from that agencies only, our manufacturer manufacturing products can be sold out, right? So they give us the in your every product food part substances you can see one name called FSSAI, right? FSSAI, have you ever watched it, right? Food safety security, one agency will be there, right? So for that they will check every purity of every substance. So they will have standard values. If it is a pure substance, what is its value? What are all its viscosity? How much gram it will be? How much thickness it will be, like that. Now a pure coconut oil will have one value of viscosity, and whatever the marketing products they are giving for testing, they will test and they compare it with the pure values, and then only they will give permission for that product to be sold out or marketed. This is one simple use, children. So in labs and in particular wherever the industries, there and all, this viscosity plays a main role, which you will learn in your higher classes. Now moving to the next very important concept, have your book in your hand. Friction. This friction, no children, is what it plays one dual role, right? It acts like hero at sometimes and it acts like villain at sometimes. Come, let us move into it. It is the force between two bodies or bodies in contact. If any two bodies are in contact, for example, see, now I am standing on the floor. This is one body and floor is another body. Two bodies are in contact. Between these two forces, between these two objects, what is the force between my legs and the surface of the floor? That force is called as friction. Right? And this friction force always has some characteristics. It always opposes motion, children, like a wheel. It won't support movement. Right? Friction force won't support movement. And it arises due to irregularities. If the surface is not smooth, if it is not regular, if two bodies are in contact, if the surface in between is not regular, then frictional force will be more, right? And then see another one. It is called as it causes wear and tear of machines, right? And one simple example shall I give you? If we wear continuously the slippers, how long we can wear our slippers? Right? Maximum. What is that? As we use more, the friction between the slippers and our legs will get increased. And impression of our legs will be there on the surface of the slippers, and it will get, what is that? Wear and tear. At one point of time, we will not be able to wear it, we will go for another. So this is one simple example where our contact force is there on our slippers. See, imagine another thing. How many bodies are there in contact in our surrounding world? So this frictional force will lead to wear and tear. Right, and this friction will lead to heat produced. For a simple example, when you move your hand like this, and in your winter season you will do now like this, you will go and keep over here to get heat. Right, so when any two bodies move and there is friction force in between, and that friction force will produce some heat. Do an experience. Okay, don't glare at the video. Right, do it. Right, do and see the production of heat in between your hands, palms, right? Now this friction is divided into mainly two types as per your book: static friction and kinetic friction. Static, kinetic. This kinetic friction is divided into two types: sliding friction and rolling friction. What is static friction? Friction between two bodies which are at rest. The word itself says static. Static means what? Without any movement. If any two bodies are at rest and in contact with each other, then the friction happening between those two bodies is called as static friction. One best example, see this board. This is static, and the wall, that wall is also static. The force between these two, they are in contact. The force between the board and the wall can be said as an example for static friction. Kinetic means, the word itself says, kinetic means movement. What type of movements? Sliding friction and rolling friction. Sliding, I will say an example. When one body slides over another body. Sliding means what? Moving like this. Right? When you just roll, what is that? Play on your inclined plane. Right? That type of the force when you just come to an inclined plane in parks and all, right? So the force between your body and the surface of that inclined plane, it is called as sliding friction, right? Then rolling friction. When any body rolls over the other body, then it is the force acting between that two bodies is called as rolling friction. And one comparison between these three. Here, static friction will be in a higher value, will be more because both the bodies are at rest. Sliding friction will be little lesser than the static friction. Rolling friction, it will be still more lesser. Why you know, children? When two bodies are at rest, here the area of contact between this body and this body is more. Right? So area of contact is more, so friction also will be more. Sliding means what? Like this it will go. Right? So area of contact starts over here which is small, increases and increases and increases and gets decreased after that. Right? So the point of contact will be acting for a smaller time. So it will be lesser than the static friction. Rolling friction means what? It will roll on the other body. Right? So now even compared to the sliding friction, the point of contact and the area of contact will be reduced. Time of contact and the area of contact will be reduced in rolling friction. So which will be higher? Static friction will be more in value than the sliding, and sliding will be more than the rolling friction, which is the minimal friction, rolling, next higher is sliding, and next higher is static. Understand, children? And one example I will say, right? You have suitcases with wheels, right? A small wheels which is attached. Imagine when you want to lift that suitcase, how much force you have to apply on it. Right? If you are going to lift it, right? So it is just like one static friction, right? But when you have wheels attached to the suitcases, just like that, even the heavier suitcases you will roll down. That is one small comparison. When you hold, lift a suitcase. This is also static and that suitcase is also static. So higher it will be of higher value and you have to give more force. Rolling force means area of contact between the wheels and the floor will be very less. So you can easily move. There friction will be less. So you can easily move. Okay, my children. Now we have factors affecting friction. We have three factors over here. Are you rolling down to the pages? Right? There are three factors: nature of the body, weight of the body, and area of contact. What is the first one? Nature. I'll tell you an example. In our houses, for tiles and marbles, whatever we use, right? What the marbles or tiles, what we use in our hall, may not be the same as we use it in the bathroom. Right? Why? When we have polished, smooth tiles on the lavishing one, grandeur one, very smooth one, we will have it on the wall. If the same tiles when we use it in the bathrooms, what will happen? Nicely we will all slip down and great damage will happen to our body. So there, what is that? We will go for one rough tiles. So surface will have, rough tiles will have more irregularities. More irregularities means more friction. More friction means motion will be controlled. Smoothness will be, if smoothness is more, movement will be more. If friction is more, stopping of movement is more. So that's why we use rough tiles in the bathrooms. Right. So this is why this is about nature example. Right. So smoothness should be more where we want more movement. Right. Roughness should be more where we want less movement. Depending on our need, we have to you make use of this friction. Then weight. Right, if you are riding on a bicycle, This is the good example given in a book. The friction will act between our pedal, what is that? Foot and our pedals, cycle pedals. If we alone are traveling, we can travel fast. But if some weight is there on our seat, back seat, we have to give a tougher force and we have to, what is that? We have to pedal the cycle. So if weight is less, friction also, what is that? We can move fastly. If weight is more, friction will be more and we have to move in a very slower way. Right? Next one, area of contact. This is what I told you an example for these two frictions. If depending upon the area of contact, if more area is in contact, friction will be more. If lesser area is in contact, friction will be less. Right, children? Now you have to take your book and we have to just note down the points. Page number 17. We have advantages of friction, disadvantages of friction. For advantages, just take your pencil and mark the important points. First one, they are saying about, what is that? Any object we can hold in our hands due to friction. Right? So when we just I am holding this scale, because there exists some frictional force, right, between these two. That's why I can hold it. Right? Next one, we can walk on the road. Right? So when we are walking on the road, there exists some force between our legs on the road. Next, what is the third point? It causes footwear and the ground to walk. So this example I had explained you. Right. Next one, automobiles and brakes. Think this, children. When we are traveling on the road, brakes, when we apply the brakes, just the brakes will go and get attached to the rim of the wheel. And if the frictional force between the brake and the rim will stop the vehicle, because frictional force will be there. Friction between what and what? Between the brake shoes and the rim of the wheel. Friction will stop the motion always, I told you. So that's why the wheel is getting stopped, thereby we are stopping the vehicle. What is the next last one? Lighting a matchstick. Right? We have matchbox and matchstick. What we will do? We will just scratch on it. So the friction between those two only will help us to get the light or that small fire. Right. So next one, we have disadvantages of friction. So this is very minimal advantages only they are given children. So many advantages we have in our life. Next one, we have disadvantages. Number one, it causes wears and tears. Right. So I told you this. It will create, what is that? As we use a simple example I have given you. For continuous usages, it will cause wear and tear. Right. So it will consumes the surface of any usable substances at one point of time. We have to remove at any particular part. Right. Even in your houses, even in your door, if it is moving at one point of time, what you will do? You will start to hear one sound, crackling sound. Even in your cycles it will come, bikes it will come, brakes, when you apply one small sound will come, and that time what you do? You will apply some oil. Right? That explanation I will give you. Right? Next one, excess amount of effort to be given to overcome the friction. So I tell you one simplest example I told you, more force need to be given if it is a static friction. So everywhere in our life we cannot demand always rolling friction and sliding friction will be there. Sometimes we need to have static friction. At that time we need to give more force. And next one, what is the last one? It produces heat. Wherever if it produces heat, even in our two-wheelers, right? When we buy it for quite some longer time, we can feel the heat in our palm, foot, right? So wherever, even in the industries, why to go there? In our fan, right? Even in our summer time, if we if we operate fans for quite longer time, the fan also will produce some heat, right? So just like this, it goes with some disadvantages also. Now, see, has it have both advantages and disadvantages. Sometimes we need friction, sometimes we don't need friction. Right? If we cannot walk if there is no friction between our foot and surface. Ultimately, it is a need. Ultimately, it has some disadvantage also. That's why we say friction is a evil but necessary evil. We need that bad thing. So see, nice contradictory statement, right? Friction is a necessary evil, right? Now, how we can increase or decrease friction? When we have more friction, we have to decrease it. When we need increased friction, we have to increase it. Number one, area of contact. Right? What I said, depending on our usage, where we use it, we increase the area of contact, friction will be more. If we decrease the area of contact, friction will be less. Right? Next one, using lubricants. This is what I said. Afterwards, I explain. Mechanics, bike mechanics will people will use some one oil or one paste like the grease, right? So they will apply on it because the two bodies will be in contact. In between they pour oil, right? Now in between they pour oil means what they will do? The two bodies will be like this. Area of contact will be more. So when they pour oil, the oil will come and fill the space in between the two bodies. So the area of contact will be reduced. So friction also will be reduced. Okay. Next, last one, ball bearings. In your cycle, have you ever seen children nearing the pedal area, small putty balls like that they use, right? So that will act like one friction reducing agent to stop one part of the cycle to move over another part of the cycle. So this is what is that? In your book it is given as it will be used for getting rolling friction instead of sliding friction. So what is that? The balls will move on the surface, right? So if you see your cycle, you can easily understand. So where they have to provide sliding friction, there we can use rolling friction so that we can give a lesser value. So these many factors they have, children. It creates some advantage also. It has some disadvantage also. That's why we call it as a necessary evil. So it's a very important question. So they can ask you a question. Friction is a necessary evil. Why? Explain. It's a 5-mark question. For that you need to say what are the advantages of friction and disadvantages of friction, and you have to say it has some positive effects also, negative effects also. That's why we call friction to be necessary evil. So many concepts we have learned, children. Learn every concepts with the notes what we are going to forward, and any doubts you can clarify through the video. Thank you, children.